Hey K-popers, and welcome back to Hallyu. I had initially planned a different deep dive this week, but after seeing Brave girls continue to reach astronomical heights, I had no choice but to honor these girls with a deep dive of their own. After all, this is, in my opinion, the greatest comeback story K-pop has ever seen. So today we're going to start by looking at the label behind the group, as well as their short-lived first lineup and comebacks. Then we'll talk about just how low the group sank after a very long hiatus, and talk about their second string of comebacks, including the original band-filled release of Rollin. Then of course we'll talk about this incredible revival the group has seen in 2021 and how the group can keep this success going in the future. Before we get started, I want to quickly thank Hallyu's honorary producers. If you want to show off your bias group in every video, have your say in future content in the channel, and join the official Hallyu Discord server, come support Hallyu on Patreon and join our wonderful community. Alright, now let's talk about why Brave Girls' comeback story is one for the history books. The start of Brave Girls' story takes us all the way back 10 years to the spring of 2011. The Brave brothers were looking to debut a new girl group and manage them under their label Brave Entertainment, and so they began searching for members. Now, in case you're not familiar with them, the Brave brothers are pretty legendary producers in K-pop, and they've produced countless hits for K-pop stars in every label you could imagine. The list of artists that they've been credited for is ridiculously long, and it includes groups like 4 Minute, After School, AOA, Big Bang, Sistar, Sunmi, Tiara, Yukis, and so many more. And the quirk with these guys is that they like to leave their mark on their work by having the artists say something like Brave Sound at the start of the song. And now that you're aware of that, you're probably going to start noticing it all the time. Here's some examples for you.
Yeah! Brave Sound! And it goes a little something like this. Drop it. Brave Sound, drop it.
The Brave Sound again! 2015!
It's 4 minutes. And Brave Sound, let go. Brave Sound, let's go, get it.
JYP, and Brave Sound, yes sir. Here it comes, song.
So now that you've had your mind sufficiently blown, let's get back to the story of Brave Girls. The Brave brothers started revealing details about the girl group in March of 2011, starting with the name Brave Girls, which, let's be honest, is okay but was not very creative. There were several member reveals who drummed up some hype though for various reasons. On the 14th, they revealed Eunyoung as the leader, who is actually the niece of Shin Hak-young, a very famous actor who's been in big movies like Joint Security Area and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. 3 days later, they revealed Hyeran, who is a relatively well-known dancer online and had a similar beauty to the soloist Son Dam-bi. And member Yejin also got people talking, as she had been prominent at a recent Miss Korea competition. On the 31st, 2 concept teaser images were released for their debut, and with that, the group was all set to go. Backed by legendary producers and talented, already semi-famous members, Brave Girls was ready to make their big debut. And they would have that debut on April 7th, 2011 with the single album Difference and the title track Do You Know. The debut is accompanied by a second promotional song, So Sexy, also from the album, which would get its own MV a couple of months later. Thanks to the hype around the girls and their talent backing them in the studio, Brave Girls earned the number 2 spot for their album and sold almost 12,000 copies. Now, I know in 2021, the era of million sellers, 12,000 sounds laughable, but in 2011 that was a solid turnout, especially since it was a debut from a label who had basically no other artists under their management. The girls quickly followed up on their success with a mini-album on July 28th, in which they collaborated with Skull on their title track Easily. This follow-up EP saw a sharp drop in success though, only peaking at number 14 and selling about 3,500 copies, less than a third of their debut. Nevertheless, they did still take home the Rookie of the Year award at the Korea Culture Entertainment Awards that year. 6 months later, the girls dropped another EP with the song Nowadays, but despite the title song on its own doing well, the album sold even less than the previous 2. I think you guys can probably see where this is heading. After releasing the single For You that summer, Brave Girls stopped just 2 years after they started. By February 2014, it had already been 6 months since the group's last comeback, and there hadn't been any news about new music or promotions. That's when the Brave brothers announced that they were working on a full-length album for the group, but that it was on hold indefinitely. Why? Because Brave brothers were working with AOA heavily at the time. This is pretty questionable decision making from the producer, but we'll get to that more in the final section. So after that reveal, we would go on to find out just how long indefinitely meant, because Brave Girls did not have a comeback at all in the year 2014. Then 2015 came and went. 2.5 years of absolutely nothing for the girls. It was as if the group had fell off the face of the earth, no music or news of members leaving. That is, until the start of 2016 when Brave Entertainment announced the group would finally be releasing a single, and with it a wholesale change of lineup. 2 of the original 5 members, Yujin and Hyeran, would stay and would be joined by 5 new members, Minyoung, Yoojung, Eunji, Yuna, and Hayun. The now 7-member group dropped the song Deepened on February 16th, a song that I personally think is criminally underrated and underviewed. The problem is that you can't put a group on hiatus for multiple years and retain your fans. So despite the quality of the song, this was the group's worst commercial outing so far. The single only peaked at number 131, and it had 97% less single downloads than their debut song. And when the girls followed it up with the EP High Heels in June, the story didn't get any better. When they dropped a digital single Yoo-Hoo on September 1st, it only had 3,591 downloads. For reference, their song Easily from 2011 had 700,000. I know it sounds like I'm being a little harsh focusing on all these numbers, but I think it's important to understand just how little the girls were selling and how they weren't charting well at all. After these repeated commercial failures, Yujin and Hyeran left the group in early 2017. The remaining 5 members decided to continue their promotions, and on March 7th, 2017, Brave Girls released their EP Rollin with the title track of the same name. While the song itself charted notably better, the EP still only sold 1,091 copies, and a big part of this was the brutal series of bans that this song was hit with by broadcasters. A week before its release, KBS ruled the lyrics of the song were unfit for broadcasting, so Brave Girls revised them. 2 days later, their MV teaser was slapped with a 19+ rating because of the girls' outfits in the video. The day after its release, KBS announced the ban on Rollin was lifted after Brave Entertainment changed the lyrics, but then subsequently banned their secondary promotional song No Rush. The original MV was also hit with an 18+ restriction on YouTube, and so they re-edited and re-uploaded a clean version without the choreo piece where the girls were laying on each other. So it's fair to say there were a ton of obstacles preventing this song from being popular, and it basically spelled the end for Brave Girls to keep promoting as a group. The most telling sign of this in my view is that 3 of the 5 members joined the show The Unit to try and make it in the new group Unity. Unfortunately, none of the members made it past the second elimination round, and with that it really felt like Brave Girls were going to be over. This was compounded by the fact that in 2018, after the group released a rearranged version of Rollin with a new MV, Hayun was going on hiatus due to health concerns. She would never return to promotions, leaving Brave Girls with just 4 members. After another 2-year hiatus, these 4 girls released the song We Ride, but the song didn't even register on Gallon's top 200 digital chart. It seemed all hope was lost and a disbanding was near. In fact, as we know now, Yoojung and Yuna had already moved out of their dorm in preparation for breaking up as a group. But all that changed when in February 2021, this compilation of Rollin performances went viral on YouTube. At the time of writing, it has nearly 10 million views. Much like with EXID's rise to fame thanks to Hani's fan cam of Up and Down, this video sparked a massive surge in popularity for the song, pushing it all the way to number 1 on real-time charting. As you guys have likely already heard through the weekly news updates recently, Rollin has been taking over Korea. And as a hilarious side note, when Brave Entertainment saw this hype building, they preemptively changed the album artwork so that there was 0 chance the song could get banned once again. The song continued to rocket in popularity, with the girls planning to return to promotions on music shows shortly. Just days ago, on March 12th, 2021, Brave Girls earned a perfect all-kill for the song, an astounding achievement that made them the first K-pop group to earn one in 2021. And of course, on the March 14th episode of Inkigayo, history was made.
Brave Girls 축하드립니다. 네, 소감 한 말씀 부탁드립니다.
사실 저희가 해체 위기에 놓였었어서 다시는 무대에 서지 못할 줄 알았는데 이렇게 큰 상을 주셔서
1,469 days after its original release, Rollin earned Brave Girls their first ever music show win as a group. Brave Girls now holds the record for the longest time between debut and a first music show win at 3,629 days, just shy of a full decade. And now with a perfect all-kill and music show win under their belt, it feels like the sky's the limit for these girls. They're already scheduled for a Running Man episode and for performances on Sketchbook, and who knows what other opportunities they'll be seeing in the coming weeks and months. I personally started my K-pop fandom a few months after Brave Girls debuted, and I have no qualms about calling Brave Girls the greatest comeback story in K-pop history. Remember, this is a group who went through a wholesale lineup change. A group who endured a 2.5-year hiatus only to have their comeback sales drop 97%. And now, they're quite literally on top of the K-pop world. But my one final question is this: what next? Will Brave Girls start promoting once again and release new music? Will they be able to sustain the success? Okay, I know that was 2 questions, but their answers are connected. And for that answer, we need to look back all the way to the beginning. What has caused the huge drop-off after their debut way back in 2011? The biggest problem was mismanagement by Brave Entertainment, capped off by that huge hiatus in 2014. Back in 2011, Brave Entertainment had some really strong strengths, namely their music production, but they were also a label with very little experience in managing a group, making sure the members were doing well individually, and lining up consistent music and activities to keep the momentum rolling. There was never anything wrong with the quality of the group's music. It was always the 1,000 little extra things that go unnoticed and add up to a well-managed group. And that's not to mention the fact that Brave Brothers were double dipping, working with other groups like AOA instead of supporting their very own group. So what will determine the future of Brave Girls now is how much Brave Entertainment has learned in the past decade. Are they going to listen to their members, give them some creative freedom, learn from the industry leaders on how to manage a group, and invest in the group's future? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain right now. After 10 years, Brave Girls are finally on a roll. Alright guys, that's the story so far of Brave Girls. Do you think that they'll be coming back with new music and continuing on as a group now that they've finally found success? I'm curious to know your prediction for them down in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe because we explore a new story like this one and enjoy tons of other K-pop content every single week right here at Hallyu. This has been Deep Dive number 45, Brave Girls.